2024 has really been quite an impressive year for the amount of metal albums that we have gotten. The releases this year have been pretty fire. Some of them have been flops, but we have gotten some actual gems. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing 14 more album releases that you should keep on your radar for the rest of the year. It is coming to a close. We're close to 2025, so I hope you're prepared. I don't think I am, but we'll see how it goes. So the first band I want to talk about is Grimgots. This is a Harry Potter metal band, or at least they used to talk about Harry Potter, but now they're more symphonic power metal. The album that they're releasing is called The Time of the Wolf Rider, and this may or may not already be out by the time this video pops up, but it's being released on September 27th. And reminds me a lot of Blind Guardian, but obviously with more synths being used. Apparently they don't talk about Harry Potter that much, at least based on what Metal Archives has to say, but I'm very interested in diving into this band because the concept of Harry Potter metal just seems really cool, so you might see them on my channel later. On September 27th, I'll honorably mention Black Dahlia Murder releasing their new album Servitude. We know about this album. I'm just, announcing it because I am doing a video on it, and at the time that this video goes up, I'm still working on it and just putting my finishing touches on it. So I do have a video on BDM. They did release this album. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought of that record, as I will be sharing my thoughts later. So I will tell you that October 4th is absolutely stacked for releases, so y'all better be prepared because the amount of music that is coming to us on that day is actually insurmountable. So the first band on my list is going to be Blood Incantation with their album Absolute Elsewhere, and I'm sorry, but I am a bit nervous about this release because it is only 2 songs. The album comes in at 43 minutes long. So you have one track that's 20 minutes, one track that's 23 minutes long. And I know that they were experimenting more with this kind of ambient death metal sound for one of their previous singles in 2023. And I think that that is going to be the direction that they go with on this album. I did have some Discord members saying that they stopped their ambient kind of experimentation phase, but I don't think they did. I think that they are going to continue that vibe. I don't know. Am I the only one that's a bit confused by their direction? I feel like it's just not clicking. I don't know. It feels a bit pretentious. I don't know how to describe it. All right, next up, we have More Insane by Undeath. I love this band. I've talked about them significantly on my channel. I've done a reaction. I've seen them live. And yeah, I'm excited about this record. It will be their 3rd full-length album. They did release 2 singles, and I know that they performed one of them when I saw them live at 89th Street, and it sounded fun. It was brutal, and honestly, the singles themselves sound a lot more polished and more heavy, and the production is really good. So I'm really hoping for the best with this album because their second record, It's Time to Rise from the Grave, is my favorite album by them. So I don't know if this 3rd record is going to surpass that one, but we'll see because it sounds very, very promising in my opinion. Also on October 4th, we've got 1349 releasing The Wolf and the King. Now this is solid black metal from what I heard. I do think it's interesting that 1349 is the year that the plague started. I don't really have an opinion though on this band, as I really have not dove into their discography. I just have heard about them over the years, but I did check out the single and I thought the production was good. It was pleasant sounding, and yeah, I think it's pretty good. So you'll have to let me know what you think about 1349. What do you think of the band, and what do you think of the single? Motley Crue. Yes, Motley Crue is releasing an EP called Cancelled on October 4th, and I'm sorry, the singles for this were not good. Not good. Not good. I don't think it's worth your time. If you were curious about what Motley Crue has been up to, they've got a new EP coming out. Yep. And and one of the most liked comments on YouTube for their single Fight for Your Right said, "Just because you can doesn't mean you should. So if that doesn't tell you what Motley Crue fans thought about this single, then I don't know what will. Also on October 4th, we will be getting Maul and their album In the Jaws of Bereavement. I really enjoyed the title track that they released as a single. I thought the production was huge. It was so fun to listen to. I love how big the song sounds. It reminds me a lot vocally of Travis Ryan from Cattle Decap and Steve Bull from 200 Stab Wounds. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his last name right. But this track also features Vincent Bennett, who is from the Acacia strain. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that too, because I thought there was an R in there somewhere, girl, and there ain't an R in Acacia. So, but anyway, Vincent Bennett is in there and it's well balanced. All the vocals work together. I really enjoyed this single. So if you haven't checked out their title track In the Jaws of Bereavement, you really should. Maul is definitely on my radar because that is like right up my alley. Also on October 4th is going to be Opeth with their album The Last Will and Testament. I think everybody is really looking forward to this album. I don't think a lot of people were expecting Opeth to release something. I know I wasn't really expecting anything, but I'm not gonna lie, the single was a bit different. I don't know how I really feel about it. It feels like it had more of a symphonic vibe to it. Now, I will say I literally just got finished doing a reaction for my Patreon to My Arms Your Hearst. So what I've listened to so far from Opeth's catalog is the My Arms Your Hearst, Blackwater Park, and Still Life. So those are like their 3 best albums, I think. So I remember really liking Blackwater and My Arms, but Still Life is okay for me, at least from what I can remember. So those are of course much older Opeth albums. It's gonna be different, right? I mean, it's been a long time, so I really don't know what to expect with Opeth other than the fact that they are so good at what they do. I mean, this like progressive death metal, it's not even fair to call them that because they're so beautiful and melodic. And I mean, if My Arms Your Hearst is anything to go off of, you're gonna expect some acoustic guitar, some nice like progressive elements, some nice melodic elements. So like I said, they had, to me, it sounded more like symphonic elements. So I'm still on the fence about how I feel about the single. We'll see how it sounds in context with the rest of the album. So yeah, let me know what you think about that new single from Opeth. Right, we are now done with October 4th releases. I told you we had a lot of them. So now we're on to October 11th, and I'm really excited about Ad Infinitum's new album Abyss. All 3 of the singles that were released for this album, I really on their single Surrender, they had like 80s synthwave elements to the music. So it was much different than their previous record, Chapter 3. It was like, you get Melissa's growls, you get the synthwave elements, you get the symphonic metal elements, but it all works in my opinion. It's definitely more poppy and more trendy, so it falls more in line with the kind of chick metal that I've been wanting. I really like Ad Infinitum because for me, it's my chick metal. Okay, I know it's not going to be for everybody, but for me, that's what it is. That is what it is for me. But I'm really glad that Melissa is exploring more of these elements with these singles. So I'm here for it. I'm really here for it. I thought all 3 of the singles were really good and well balanced. So I'm excited to hear how the rest of this record sounds. So on October 18th, we have Ensiferum with Winter Storm. This is an epic folk metal band. They have a new single called Winter Storm Vigilantes. I actually really liked the sound of this track. It reminds me a lot of Corpus Clowny, who I've listened to in some Twitch streams, but it's epic folk metal, so it's not going to be for everybody, but I thought it was fun and it definitely helped create a sense of adventure. So if you're into epic folk metal, you'll like that. Also, we have Swallow the Sun releasing their new album Shining on October 18th. They do have a single called Melancholy or Melancholy. The spelling's a little weird, but this was the first time I was ever checking out the band. The production was nice on these singles. It's melodic death, doom, metal, so it's definitely sad boy music. It reminded me a lot of Woods of Ypres mixed with Insomnia, but a little bit more groovy. So it didn't stand out a ton, but I enjoyed what I heard. So to finish off the month, on October 25th, we have Devin Townsend releasing his new album Power Nerd. Now, I never realized that Devin was so huge in the metal scene. I mean, I did and I didn't. Like, when I looked him up on YouTube, I was like, oh my god, he has so many followers. So a lot of people know him. I'm gonna be honest and say I've never listened to him, like, ever. I've heard the name, but I've never listened to a single song by him. So Power Nerd, his title track, his single to promote this album, was the first time I ever listened to him at all. And I actually really liked elements of the song. I liked the lead guitar riff in the pre-chorus, and the chorus I thought was also really catchy, and I thought the lyrics were fun also. All those years spent down in a hole, time for life and rock and roll. I thought that was fun, very inspirational, easy to memorize. So I am excited to see what he delivers with Power Nerd, because like I said, it's fun and catchy, and that's all I want with my music, right? Next up, we have all of our albums coming out in November. So the first one to start us off is going to be Molder and their album Catastrophic Reconfiguration. This is coming out November 8th. If you're not familiar with Molder, they are a death thrash metal band from Illinois, and they've released 2 singles in, promotion of this record, and I really enjoyed them. They remind me a lot of, I feel like, Obituary in terms of the vocals, but they're a relatively new band. They started in 2017, and I actually had Prosthetic Records reach out to me, and I'm going to be doing a little deep dive into the band around November 8th when this new album comes out. I really enjoyed what we heard. It has a very old school death metal sound to their recordings, and like I said, they're from 2017, so it's a very, very new modern band, and they captured an old school death metal sound that I feel like some of these old school revival death metal bands are not capturing at all. Also on November 8th, I don't know if you know this, but Massacre is releasing a new album called Necrolution. Now, I was actually kind of surprised that this band was releasing an album because I discovered this new release actually in my Patreon Hangout stream. I was literally just talking with one of my members about Massacre. We went on to the Metal Archives page and boom, there it was. And I was like, oh my god, they're releasing a new album. So what I can tell you about the single that they've released, which is called The Color Out of Space, I thought that was a really nice lead guitar riff that was quite catchy, and I like the way it sounds. There's a lot of reverb placed on it too, and there's also a really great intro riff as well. I enjoy that this record sounds a bit more raw, like old school death metal, albums. So I recognize this band from their debut album, Massacre. I think it's from 1991, if I remember correctly, but I recognize that band from that album. I really don't know much about Massacre. I've never really listened to them on my own time, so I'm interested to hear your thoughts on new Massacre. How does it differ from old Massacre, and do you think it's worth checking out this new record, Necrolution? All right, the last album on my list is going to be on November 22nd, and that is Defeated Sanity and their new record, Chronicles of Lunacy. I remember Defeated Sanity from their album Passages into Deformity, which is actually a record that I did a reaction to on my channel previously, like a year or so ago, and I remember that album being so intense and so aggressive. And now that I've done my deep dive into Nile, I understand, or at least I feel like I understand Tech Death a little bit better. And so it's like I understand the difference between like what Defeated Sanity does and what Nile does now. And what Defeated Sanity does is a lot more unforgiving and brutal. You don't get any of those like melodic sections or melodic breaks like what Nile gives you, you know. There's definitely a lot of rawness to Defeated Sanity sounds. I really enjoyed their latest single, Temporal Disintegration. I enjoyed that a bit more than their first single. It definitely has a slower groove to it, slower sound to it than what I remember from their Passages of Deformity or Passages into Deformity. I feel like that record was so intense and so aggressive and unforgiving, and they really didn't give you any reprieves from it, right? And I feel like Temporal Disintegration had a little bit more room, a little bit more groove. You still get the good tech. You still get the good tech elements, but got that rawness of Dying Fetus. So we'll kind of see how it goes. But yeah, like I said, there's 2 singles and they both kind of have that slower vibe to it. All right, so that's all of the music that has been officially announced with release dates for this year. Now, December is usually a dead zone for releases. Most of the time you get the compilation records, the anniversary records, the live albums, stuff like that. Really good gifts for the holidays. We really don't ever have major releases from the major bands that we know in December. And January's a little bit of the same. Sometimes you get little oddball gems, like Obituary last year released a record, I think, in January. And so there's nothing really announced that is major to be mentioned in December. We are still waiting on a record from King Diamond, of course. And I'm discovering from January, when I did my albums coming out in 2024 video, that King Diamond's just been kind of hinting around about an album for a while. So we could be waiting for a while, and I'm learning that as we go. So I don't know if we're going to get a King Diamond record anytime soon. I do, however, have some high hopes because he's now going on a North American tour right now, and you know, he's at least doing his thing. He's being active, so who knows if we're going to actually get something. Maybe we might get a single around Halloween, would be kind of cool, or maybe we'll get something around, you know, December. We could get something maybe in 2025 in the spring. I think we'll hold out. I know Dream Theater also is something that we could be seeing within the next few months, maybe early 2025. Deftones has been kind of hinting around about releasing something, and Morbid Angel is another one. We have not heard anything else about Morbid Angel releasing a record, and I mentioned in my other video from earlier this year that I don't know if we would see something from Morbid Angel this year because of Trey's condition, from his, you know, falling on stage that happened. So we will kind of see. We will see if we get anything in the works. But yeah, let me know if there's any of these bands that really piqued your interest or what you're excited about for the rest of this year. I am personally so excited about this new Opeth album. I'm really excited about Molder, and I'm excited about Ad Infinitum. I think that that's going to be great. And Maul, the tracks for Maul sound really good. So let me know what you're excited about. Undeath 2, can't forget about them. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye, you guys.